on the Orc and Human team has opted for an Orbital Lightning. This is going to allow him, obviously, to attack air units, but also this chance to purge is really nice to pick off an air unit if it happens to be going overhead, and we're actually going to see that happen on 1 or 2 destroyers in a little bit here. So again, playing a little bit more defensively, they're having to back off a little bit. They don't want to push too far into this undead's base, and they're just waiting for these bats to come out, and they're picking off individual destroyers, knowing that it's going to be really expensive for this undead player to do it. And actually, if you take a look at the gold mines here, we're down to 1,000 gold in the gold mines here, so this is kind of a crucial time here. You don't want to have to be reinvesting in buying such huge tech units at this point of the game when you're running out of gold, and no players here have an expansion yet, which is something that we're going to see later on. I'm actually going to speed through it when they race to try to get an expansion here. So all the destroyers are actually out of the picture now. All the destroyers have been killed by bats and rifle focus fire. Looking really, really bad now for the Orc and Undead team. They kind of lost their advantage that they had. They weren't able to make advantage of their winning fight there at the Undead's base, or at the Purple Orc's base. The Purple Orc actually lost a lot in that fight, though, so it was kind of hard for them to mount a good counter-offensive, but it was really all on the Undead's team to actually try, or the Undead player to try to make that counter happen. So now there's just a lot of chasing going on, a lot of dancing, trying to decide which opponent they want to try to take out next. We got us Spirit Towers in the Undead base, so it's going to be a little bit risky to bring the fight in there. So they're just kind of staying in between the Orc and Undead base. This is kind of a bad positioning for them, because now they're going to have to, if they get caught, the Orc is going to be able to come from one side and the Undead, and they're going to kind of be sandwiched, and they're not going to have good positioning. But the Undead player has actually opted to try to play a little bit too offensively with only his 2 heroes and two destroyers, and he's going to actually lose this destroyer here to purge and to bat. Notice it took that, even at half-life, that destroyer took 2 bats to take down, so getting those armor upgrades if you're going destroyer is definitely a key thing, even in solo matches, but definitely helps in team games when counters are the biggest kind of decision here. So rifles are actually pretty good counter destroyers. You see a lot of Orc players opting for headhunters versus destroyers when they do solo 1v1 games. So piercing damage, although it does reduce to medium armor. Actually, I'm sorry. It's light armor that destroyers have, so it does piercing damage as extra to them. So definitely a good idea to go rifles versus destroyers. And the bat's actually a good counter for the Orcs as well over headhunters. I wouldn't go headhunters in this situation. So again, just picking off as many destroyers as they can without taking that many losses. They don't have to finish off this undead player's base. They just have to beat his army. I mean, in any fight, you don't have to get greedy. Just play defensively, play back, destroy their army, pick them off, and stay on the outside of your base. There's no need to waste your army and to play too risky and get into a bad position here. So now that the Orc player is finally coming in with his Kodos, and he's got a few grunts and full mana and full HP Blade Master. Actually, they're half mana and half HP at the moment now because I waited a little bit too long to comment on that. But now this is forcing a TP. The Torrent Chieftain almost died. The Blade Master actually almost died from a really close chain lightning there by the yellow Orc player. So it was really close. He windwalked just at the last second, but I think it still went through and just barely survived with like 20 HPs, I think. So a lot of close deaths there, and that TP was definitely a really smart decision here. But it's about 23 minutes into it, and we're at another point where it's going to be a little bit slow happening here. Obviously, the advantage has now shifted to the Orc and Human team. They did an excellent job of killing all those destroyers, and now that both gold mines are running out, both teams and actually they're all out completely now. Both teams are going to have to find a way to make an expansion. So that's pretty much what we're going to watch here. If you guys want to go ahead and speed up the replay, we're going to sync again at the 27-minute mark, which is going to be the final fight. So do whatever you guys have to get to the 27-minute mark and pause the game there, and I will resync us at the 27-minute mark and give us a countdown. So again, I'm just speeding through this right now, and you can watch them if you want, but there's just a lot of creeping and a lot of trying to expand, a little bit of harassment by each team, but nothing that's too big to speak of. At this point in the game, this is pretty much what you have to do. If you haven't made an expansion already, you need to try to get that going, because whoever gets the economic advantage at this point, who's able to fortify an expansion, is probably going to win. The team that does that is probably going to win the game. Not in this case, though. So I'm at the 27-minute mark, put it at 1x speed. And I'm going to talk just another second just to get you guys synced up there. We're going to be watching at the Purple Orc's base. This is where the final fight's going to be happening. Let's take a look at the army sizes here. The Orc and Human team have a 25 food and a 30 food army. And it's about similar on the other side too. So both armies are kind of even at this point, but the Orc and undead team lost a lot of their advantage. They're killing all those destroyers, as I said before. However, we do have a level 5 Death Knight and a level 3 Lich, so that's going to really prove effective, or it should prove effective, versus lowly int heroes like the Archmage and the Farseer. You notice that the Arcs, if you're still, I'm still paused here, by the way. So if you can look at the Farseer and the Archmages, the Farseer's actually got a Scroll of Town Portal, and the Archmage has got a Potion of Greater Healing, just in case they happen to be the target of a lot of focus fire from the Hex and from the Blade Master and from Coil and Nova, that they're going to should be able to try to survive. If not, they'll be okay, but definitely you see them kind of preemptively knowing that those heroes are ideal targets at this point of the game, so they're trying to defend it. Also, take a look at the Tauren Chieftain. Tauren Chieftain now has 1,000 HP's max. He's almost level 5. Now is when the Tauren Chieftain kind of shines over the Shadow Hunter, because it's kind of late game, and strength heroes ideally get a little bit stronger. Same thing with the Mountain King. Mountain King is level 5 now. He's a very big threat, over 1,000 HP's, and also has pretty decent mana pool there at 300. He's going to be able to cast I think 2 or 3 Storm Bolts at least with that. So let's go ahead and get it on pause. You guys should be at the 27-minute mark at 1x speed. We're going to unpause in 5 seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. This is the final fight here, like I mentioned before. The first target of this little fight here is going to be the Voodoo Lounge. Both players don't want to have to deal with any heroes opting for any heal pots at the last second, although both players' economy is kind of hurt at this time, so it's going to be hard for them to do anything. You notice both teams have actually brought their peasants and militia. This is where they want to make their last stand. They're not worried. Actually, the Yellow Orc is still trying to mine resources with it. You see a big line of peons over there. But now we have 3 destroyers left, so again, this is the biggest threat that this Orc and human team have to do, and instead of worrying about the destroyers at this point, they decide to focus fire on the heroes. You see, in the midst of all that, destroyers, and there's actually a peasant acolyte surround. Actually, acolytes helped to surround the undead hero, the Death Knight, and was focus fired and killed. Really, really bad situation. Now the next target is going to be, I think unless the Lich is already dead. Both undead heroes are dead actually at this point, so really, really bad situation. The Orc and human team are all smiles now, knowing that they took out those 2 heroes, which were pretty much the biggest threat to their army. Now they only have to worry about these destroyers. And they're still not having to worry about the destroyers, really, because if they can take out these heroes, then they know the other team is going to be able to re-summon those heroes in a sizable amount of time, and they'll be able to eventually overcome those destroyers at this point in the game. So they made a good decision in this fight to target heroes over the units here. So now we're down to just a Blade Master. I think both players have lost both their heroes. Yes, they have. And the game's over here. So that was pretty much it. If you guys want to just speed through the rest of it, it's pretty much over at this point, I think. Yeah. I really like destroyers in this game. This audio commentary is pretty much over. I'm just going to talk just for another minute or 2 about it. So this shows definitely how effective destroyers are in this type of matchup in 2v2, and typically they're a really good dispel, especially when the other teammate, or when you're going to be up against more meat too. It's kind of like a double bonus that they can dispel, and they can use the mana they've gained from that dispel to take out a lot of like high tier armor, or high tier units like Tauren, like Grunts, things like that, and Knights. Same thing with that. So definitely a good idea to use the destroyers there. So let's see here. I think I discussed everything I wanted to talk about. So I appreciate you guys listening to this audio commentary. If there's any comments you guys have, just go ahead and leave them on this front page posting at WCRreplays.com. Anyway, thanks for listening to my audio, guys. I hope you guys have a great day, and good luck in your 2v2 matches. Later.